Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Practice Better video. I'm Shelly Myers, business success coach with Practice Better, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Lexy Penney from Lexy Penney Nutrition and Wellness. Actually, this is Lexy's second time with us, as she was featured last year on our Practitioner Spotlight, and we knew that we had to have her back. So we know that many practitioners are planning to launch a new program this time of year. So this could be your first program, or for those experienced practitioners, a high ticket or a signature program. But what if you don't know exactly what content to put into your program or what to focus on specifically to attract clients and deliver maximum value? Where are some places that you can look for guidance and inspiration for your next program launch? So with me here today is Lexy Penney, who has practiced as a registered dietitian for almost 12 years. Lexy lives in Boston and has been running her private practice for about 6 years. Lexy works primarily with women to heal disordered relationships with food and exercise and develop a more positive body image. She uses non-diet, intuitive eating approach. So Lexy generously offered to share with the Practice Better community a bit about what inspired her to create her signature program, the Peace in 3 method, and how her own life experiences, her professional experience, and some valuable coaching that she received all factored into the framework and elements that she carefully designed to create this amazing signature program. And with the help of the Practice Better platform to keep her organized, efficient, and streamlined, Lexy can put even more energy into truly helping her clients transform their bodies and their lives. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to you, Lexy, to share a bit more with our Practice Better community.
Yeah, what an intro. Thank you for all that. When you said 12 years as an RD, I was like, oh my gosh, it's been that long. Like it's weird. I feel like I just graduated, just became a dietitian in a lot of ways, but I also feel like I'm doing it forever at the same time. So yeah, it's interesting when you said that. I was like, wow, it's a long time. Yeah, so I everything you just said, yeah. I think, I'm sure we'll get into this, but I do think that, there were two EMR systems that I was using before I switched to Practice Better. And I did find like an immediate catalyst when I switched to Practice Better in terms of getting this program up and running, which I think is, and I'm not just saying your praises because you are who I'm talking to, but I tell anybody this, like, other dietitians that are getting started, or just people in the dietitian community that are looking for a platform like this. It really was like almost instantly I was able to do what I wanted to do with people in a seamless, efficient, user-friendly, on their end, on my end way. I was finding a lot of hiccups and problems and, glitches and stuff with the other programs that I was using. So I do, owe a lot of the seamlessness of the success that I've had with the program, because Practice Better has just always worked. I don't think I've ever had a single glitch. Like, I don't think I've ever had, one of the other ones I was using, literally like my calendar imported with someone else's calendar. So I had like someone else's clients on my calendar.
Oh no.
Big problems.
Yeah.
I haven't had any big problems, any little problems. It's made things a lot.
You just have more energy now, or more focus to put on your clients instead of worrying about your calendar syncing with another practitioner.
Right. And I'm the only one, right? Like I work literally by myself, just for myself. And so when I was having to do that stuff, it was taking away from what I really wanted to be providing for people.
Sure. So now you are studying, or have you graduated from therapy? You're becoming a therapist too, is that correct?
Yeah. So I just started at a school called Salem State here in
Mm,
Massachusetts.
nice.
And I will be in a 3-year program. So I'm in my second semester, my first year. So I have 2 more years after I finish this semester. And I just was kind of finding that I wanted to help clients go deeper into the work that we were
Okay.
already doing, helping them with healing trauma and things like that. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm loving it. I love school. It's a great experience so far.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, so tell us, I don't know, how long have you been running this program? The
So
signature
I
program. The-
it kind of started getting put together. I would say like a year into my private practice.
Okay.
Because my first year was kind of, I was kind of seeing everybody. Like I was still doing gut health. I was
Mm,
seeing like some diabetics. Like I was kind of like all over the place because I
okay.
had come from working in the oncology space and cancer centers.
Oh,
And I just wanted to kind of refresh myself in terms of like what I was interested in. So
yeah.
kind of was at that point working with a lot of different people, just my first year, just to kind of see what I was interested in. And I noticed myself being really drawn, more and more to people who struggle with eating disorders, disordered eating, body image stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so around like the end of my first year, beginning of my second year, I really started to kind of like niche down into that population
Mm-hmm.
and was really loving it. And I think having a niche or a specific population that you work with helps with the rest of the program implementation. Like I think
Sure. Sure.
I had a business coach, Laura Schoenfeld, that I'll mention a little
Oh,
bit,
yeah. We love Laura.
throughout this for sure. She said, like, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. And I felt that. I was like creating a lot of different content for like all these different things, like gut
Mhm.
healthier and all this other stuff. And once I niched down to like kind of my typical ideal client, everything else kind of fell into place in terms of like, what does this specific client need? So for the people I work with, it's also interesting. I have other dietitian friends who are in the non-diet intuitive eating space. Their clients are a lot different than mine. So like, just because you're in the same, kind of like
Mhm.
working with the same population or type of person, your approach to them and your orientation and like the way you do things might be completely different. So for me, the type of person that I attract, they tend to be people who are really into like doing the work. Like they want the books, they want they want a workbook, they
Mhm.
want like to read stuff, they want to listen to podcasts, they want to absorb a lot of this information. They're kind of more I would say go-getter, but kind of, right? They're like
They
really
probably have their binders that they print everything
yeah.
out, put it
Yeah.
in the binder with the little tabs. Yeah, I know those kind of.
Yeah. And that's how I am. And so I think
Yeah.
I tend to attract that person because of what I offer,
Mm-hmm.
kind of neatly falls into what they're desiring.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I started to kind of just pay attention to what these clients that I was working with, what they worked well with and what they didn't work well with. And another feature that was added along the way was the messaging support. Because I was noticing that clients, I would see them every week to start, and then, every other week once they started kind of like getting better and kind of space it
Mm-hmm.
out. But in between sessions, a lot of life happens, right? So they would,
Yeah.
have go through all this stuff and they'd come into session and they'd just like dump it. And I'd be like, okay, you just said like 5 different things. What do you want to focus on? Right. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I thought maybe we could be addressing this like between sessions so that you don't
Yeah.
have to then wait until, the next session with me to address it. And it worked amazing. So it's kind of like, I think that was maybe the first thing that I added on. And I wasn't like necessarily charging for it at the time because I wanted to kind of trial it,
Yeah. Yeah.
see if people liked it. And it worked really well. Like people were sending me like, you can do voice memos and practice better messaging.
Mhm.
Um, and you can, send pictures. Like it's very user friendly in terms of like how they want to communicate with me.
Yeah.
Um, so that was, I think, one of the first additions that I like added into like, because I was just seeing people kind of like face to face. And then the other things that I started to add, I just started, again, kind of noticing what people were asking for, or what types of support I thought might be helpful for them.
Mhm.
And I had a feedback form that I created in Practice Better that I send out after our work together that will ask, like, specifically, is there anything that really worked well for you? Anything that I didn't offer that you would like to see? And so through some of that,
Mhm.
like pulling that data from those forms, I was able to see people were requesting a structured sort of like process or like format, or
That they can like check off.
yeah, they
Okay,
might
we
have
did
used the
this.
words like worksheets. Like, I can't exactly remember like what they said, but they were like, we
Mhm.
want more of like a cohesive thing,
Mhm.
versus just kind of going in and talking each session, kind of like seeing where things went. And so that started my creation of an ebook that then
Oh,
turned
okay.
into an e-course, which is I made on Practice Better, which, again, like anything I had wanted to do, I was like,
Mhm.
not surprised that Practice Better already had the capacity to be able to do with it, do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But pleasantly surprised, because it was like anything that was mentioned or that I created along the way, Practice Better was able to handle it. So the
Well,
e-course, yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Well, I do want to get into the components of it just sounds amazing, but what kind of led you up to even creating it, like your inspiration? Because you talked about sort of you had some personal experiences and professional experience. So was there just like one thing that inspired you, or was it just a combination of things that led to this particular course as your signature program?
Yeah. A couple things. One, I'm sober in recovery from alcohol and all substances. I'll have 9 years in March, actually soon, next month. Yeah, March
Wow.
17th, St.
Wow.
Patrick's Day.
Congratulations, Lexy.
Thank you. Yeah. So just being in like the recovery process for that, there were a lot of different things that I did that were suggested for me to do that I noticed were very helpful, that I kind of pulled these things, from that um, experience to
Mm,
um, incorporate into the work that I was doing with clients. So two things that stand out are community, like a sense of community, building a sense of
mhm.
community, which I try to do in my program.
Oh, cool.
And then sort of consistent, like, messaging support with other people who kind of understand what you're going through. So that was just over the course of time, kind of noticing different things that were helping me. And then
Okay.
I've also struggled myself with disordered eating, body image stuff. I saw multiple practitioners along the way. And I was thinking when I was going through it, like, this would be really helpful if I had, XYZ thing.
Okay.
And so just sort of like pulling from that of thinking like, okay, when I was in this position, what would have been helpful to me, kind of thing.
Okay. Wow. That's awesome. So I noticed just looking at kind of the description of this program that you give your client or the participants some things, like you mail them some books and like a self-care kit. And so can you talk a little bit more about how you determine like what you're going to send them? Like how do you get to know them, and then how do you pick the types of things that you're going to send them?
Yeah. So I try not to send them any books until we first meet, like our first initial visit.
Mhm.
And I actually have in my initial visit form some check boxes for me.
Mhm.
Like, I call it housekeeping. It's like just called like a housekeeping section. It's like, have I scheduled their follow-up visits? Have they downloaded the Practice Better app? Have they done this, whatever? And then like, did we talk about books? Because I'll
Oh,
ask them, I'll kind of like, pick their brain a little bit. I'll say like, are you more interested in, the food side? Are you more interested in the body image side?
hmm.
These are some book ideas that I have. I have them right here. So I'll whip them out and I'll kind of describe them. And
Oh,
then they'll say, oh, that one sounds really interesting. And I'll, make a note.
Yeah.
to send them that book. So I kind of make it a collaborative approach to see, what they're more interested in, what might be more helpful to them. By the end of the first visit, I have a pretty good idea of, what direction would be best to go.
Mhm.
And then everyone gets the self-care kit. I send it
Mhm.
at the end. As a kind of like a thank you gift for like, trusting me in this journey with you and
Oh, that's
me to
so
help
cool.
you.
Yeah.
But also to like remind them, like, take care of yourself, like there's like some, like I tend to do the ones with like the hand lotion and like candle and like, bubble bath and things like that, that they'll see it and they'll remember like, okay, I'm important. I have to take care of myself.
Wow. So is that when they get the kit, is that like a total surprise to them? Is it?
Unless they remember like reading it on my website,
Oh, okay.
yes, for most people. And I do say, like, as we're wrapping up, I say two things. I say like, actually three. I say, this isn't goodbye. I'm here if you need any other
Mm,
support. Also, I lead them, like give them a link to book a follow-up if they ever need to. I say, I'm going to send you a feedback form, through Practice Better. I just say it's helpful for me to kind of keep,
yeah.
giving the best care I can. I want to know how you felt, how things changed for you. And then the third thing I say is I'm going to be sending you something in the mail. I don't say exactly what it is. I say, just
Yeah.
kind of keep an eye out in the mail for something I'm going to send you.
Cool. Um, no, I think it's really interesting with the books because a lot of practitioners, one of the thing I think some of the barriers are just they feel like they have to be an expert in everything and like they keep waiting to create that course or program until they take this course and that course. And I feel like leveraging books, you send a book and that not only it's educating the client, but it's giving you something. Obviously, the practitioners read the book. And so that's something that you can talk about. Like, what did they get from that chapter or what actions are they going to? So you can leverage other people's expertise that's outside of your niche, but still something that the client or patient still needs. So I really haven't heard of that many practitioners doing that, but I think it's such a great idea. Uh,
Yeah. It kind of happened because I
yeah,
kept reading these books and I was like, my clients need this book.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna send it to them, and you're right. That's exactly what happens is they'll read something and they'll
Hmm.
bring it to session. Like it helps to kind of solidify some of the concepts that we're working on in our sessions, but in
Hmm.
a lot deeper of a dive that we just can't get into in our sessions. And then the e-course that I created does help to kind of pull some of that stuff too. So it might say,
Okay.
hey, like, there might be a blog post that I wrote that then they're sending it, getting sent to, but
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, what's this book sent? It's like it's a combined effort. Right? And yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know everything. And I've acknowledged that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's, I think it's healthy to learn from a bunch of different people. So I want them to hear like, other people's stories and experiences and advice too.
Yeah.
Just think that I have all the answers. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I also read that you bring in guest expert speakers, like maybe on a quarterly basis for your
Mhm.
groups. And so can you talk a little bit about like the types of experts that you bring in and how you plan that from a logistical standpoint?
Yeah. I've been loving the groups. I started the groups because of COVID, basically, when people were really like kind of deficient in community. I kind of always knew that this community specifically needed a community,
Yeah.
and that it would be helpful for my clients to kind of meet each other, talk to each other, things like that. But COVID really like, lit a fire under my butt to finally do that. And it
Mhm.
started with just me doing the sessions and just kind of leading groups on different topics with body image or food stuff, whatever. But then I had my friend Jessie Haggerty, who's a dietitian in the same space, but she's a personal trainer. She came and talked to us about how to develop a healthy relationship with exercise. Because although I address that with clients, I'm definitely not, I wouldn't say an expert on it. I'm a yoga teacher, but not a personal trainer. And that's her, a little bit
Yeah.
of her bread and butter. She's really great at it. And people loved it. People loved having her. I had great attendance. So I was like, okay, I think something's here. So I
Yeah.
try and bring in quarterly experts on their topic. So we had an astrologist come actually
Oh, wow. Cool.
last spring or last fall. And she talked to us about how your sign, your astrology sign impacts your relationship to food in your body, which is wicked cool. And then we have actually someone coming in March to do, it's called human design.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's going to do human design workshops. So like how basically like the type of person you
Yeah.
are, same
That's
thing,
so cool.
impacts your
Yeah.
relationship to food in your body. So I try and keep it interesting. I do like a variety of people. We've
Yeah,
had
it doesn't always have to be about food, it's all these other things impact, what you're eating and how you're perceiving food and all that. So when you bring in these guest experts, is it just for the participants who are currently in the program, or can folks who graduated, like, could they also join some of these presentations?
It's open to all clients forever. So I have some clients
Okay. Cool.
coming to the human design one that I haven't worked with in like 3 years, 2 or 3 years. But they stay in touch, on social media. So I'll post about it on social media. Or I'll just message I have like a group client chat in Practice Better that I'll message and say, hey, like we're doing this thing if you want to come. So I try and, make it known a couple different places so that people can come. But yeah, they can come, kind of like lifetime access as long as I'm doing it. And I've actually started opening it up to the public too. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them, which is cool too.
Yeah. So that way you're still keeping a relationship with them. So then when things change in their life and they need help again, they're like, oh, Lexy, I was just on her human design workshop. I think I'm going to hire her again. That's so great. How do you handle boundaries? Because if you have this messaging and you have people with lifetime access, like, have you had a lot of challenges with people just with, boundaries and like people messaging you all the time? How do you handle just that balance of still giving them attention, but not being overwhelmed with people who just even after they graduated, they keep messaging you?
Haven't had, knock on wood, I haven't had like any problems in this area. Okay. And I think a big piece of that is probably setting realistic, reasonable expectations at the very beginning. So on my website, it lists like around where it describes the messaging part. It's like, I'm available, whatever it is, Monday to Friday, blah, blah, blah time to blah, blah, blah time. You can message me during that time. I may or may not get back to you right away, but you will receive a response within 24 hours. I don't check on the weekends, like whatever it says. But I also reiterate that in our first call together. I just describe kind of like the messaging, kind of like boundaries, I guess, that we're going to have. And then I have 2 things that I think help me stay close to those boundaries is I don't have notifications on for chat on my app, on the Practice Better app. I turn the notifications off and I just check them every day that I'm working, every morning when I sign on to the desktop,
so you have
or
a routine of when you're checking in.
I just check them. And then I also have an away message set up. So if they do message me on a day that I'm not working, it'll give them a prompt that says like, hey, like, whatever my out of message, I don't even know what it is at this point, but something like I'll respond.
It's working.
Yeah.
Plus, if they're working with you for 6 months, they're really getting to know you. And the fact that if you're sticking to those boundaries and to what you're telling them, I don't check on the weekends, or I do get back to you in 24 hours. Like if you're consistent with that over 6 months, then they're going to know like, hey, these are the rules. This is the framework. Well, lastly, I just want to ask you about, you mentioned business coach, mentor, like how did that help you around this program? Like, did it help you add things to it or refine it or give you more confidence?
Yeah. So I worked with Laura Schoenfeld, as I mentioned before, and she does it's called the Nutrition Business Accelerator Program, the NBA, which I think is funny because like NBA. I think of basketball. But so working with her helped me you know, and I use the same example, like dietitians need dietitians. Like we need people to help us sort through the stuff in our heads. And that's what Laura helped me do, because I had a lot of ideas, a lot of
Mm,
energy, a lot of, you know, a lot of experience obviously to pull from, but I had a hard time doing that by myself because I think it's impossible. I don't know. For me, it's impossible to just like do it on my own. And so what Laura's program really helped me to do, and I sort of like upgraded to the, I forget, I think it's called like VIP program with her,
mm,
where I got one-on-one sessions with her too. So we had the group sort of format, and then I also was able to work with her individually. And she
yeah.
helped me just kind of like sort through my whole, you know, my head, basically like my process and like what I wanted to do, and what I was doing that was working, what I was doing that wasn't working, and just help me kind of like organize it and come up with different ideas. And it was great. I highly recommend her.
And even just like figuring out what are your metrics, like how are you going to know if you're successful, like setting those
Exactly.
metrics, and then how do I measure? Um, cool. So people graduate from the 6-month programs, do you still offer, like, can they continue to work with you later, just like one-on-one, or is there some kind of like maintenance program for them?
Yeah, I trialed a maintenance program for them that was kind of like a subscription
Mm,
process for the next like 3 months after we
mm,
ended our work together. I found two things. A, people didn't need it.
okay.
And B, it was like too much support. So what I really
Oh,
noticed is that people just kind of need one-off sessions after our work together because it's so intense. Like
yeah.
our time together, we are doing so much. They are a
Mm,
completely unrecognizable person at the end of the program from the beginning in a good way.
wow.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
they really are, I think, healed from the inside out. And so that's what I want. I want them
Um,
to like finish with me and be like, okay, good, I'm going to go live my life. That's the whole purpose of doing it. So, you know,
yeah.
sort of intense.
Yeah.
But they usually just need like a one-off session. Like I had a client who was getting married and had to try on her dress, and that was triggering for her. And I had another client who just had a baby who wanted to check in about like how she's feeling, you know, about her nutrition and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So
So they
more
can
just
just go to your website and like book a follow-up, like a one-off follow-up.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
I created a link that has a PB scheduler that's just specific like client follow-up
Okay.
calendar or
Just
whatever.
right on your website. So
Yep.
easy peasy for that. Cool. Well, Lexi, thank you so much. It was so inspirational. I'm so glad to hear that this program is going so well, and you're really helping your clients to become, I guess, unrecognizable at the end of it in a good way. So I think hopefully the practitioners who are watching this can garner some pearls and, just realize that you just can't do everything in your program. You have to really take things out and start somewhere and leverage other experts and other resources. But we really appreciate you sharing, and thank you so much.
Of course. You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Lexi. Okay. Bye.